and having his beard scratch. That's weird, dude. Stop.
I've been busy.
I know, baby.
Answering questions about you.
You can't leave me alone that long. That's a little too long, baby.
We'll need it.
Come on.
She enjoys.
I love that question.
What it does to me.
Yeah, I know. I can just feel the blush. We've cried, we've laughed.
Pedro Pascal is a 50-year-old bachelor who just needs to keep his hands to himself. That's it. That's the video. Can we go home now? I do have a doctor's appointment. Despite what multiple users may have you think about the whole Pedro Pascal situation, it doesn't mean that you have toxic masculinity to just say, hey, you know what? Maybe just, hands in the pockets, bud. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could grip yourself. You're feeling anxious, you're feeling lonely. Grab you, okay? Grab you, all right? Pedro Pascal's been in a lot of stuff, all right? In the past 2 years, he's been in a lot of stuff. And then before that, he was in The Last of Us. And then before that, in The Mandalorian. Loved him in The Mandalorian. I was like, hey, this guy's pretty cool. And I'm like, well, there wasn't any problems because he wasn't going to touch Gina Carano. They got rid of her as Biden. It was Biden era. So they're just they got right rid of her. She's like, she's a Nazi. They got her right out of there. But so I'm not discrediting any of his acting credentials. Like, any of his IMDb is unjustified. Most things I've seen him in, I think that he's pretty decent. I think he's a fairly good actor. So for being 50 years old, it looks pretty good. I think the glaze on it when everyone was like, Daddy Pedro, I think that was kind of crazy. I think that SNL run, strange to say the least. Or maybe at least maybe that's more of his character or more of his actual personality that he kind of put on display. I'm not too sure. It wasn't something that I disliked. I was just thinking, strange, weird, especially because he's such not a polarizing, but he's such a provocative, dramatic actor. I thought that was a little different. But hey, you know what? Actors are different. Celebrities are different. They're different. They're weirdos. They're all a bunch of weirdos. They're freaks. They're pet. I go down that road. That's not today. That's not Pedro. Just Predator Pascal, I think, is more fitting. But my very first inkling of something being kind of a little bit strange was Pedro Pascal being observed at San Diego Comic-Con for a panel of the announcement of Fantastic Four First Steps. In that moment, in an experience of anxiety or in a flush of anxiety, reaches out and takes Vanessa Kirby's hands and just starts to hold hands with her, get a little closer, and hold hands with her. Like, if it was a touching moment, or if it was just maybe there was an emotional point there, then okay, kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? You've seen it 100,000 times. Again, actors are weird. Guys, you don't understand how weird actors are. I'm telling you, I've dealt with actors. I've shot podcasts for actors. I've interviewed actors. They're weird, dude. There's just certain concepts they just don't get about real life. And that's okay. They're all theater kids. That's okay. I don't know. I guess it's okay. Is Vanessa Kirby married? Okay, so Gemini says that she's engaged to Paul Rabil. Last I checked, Paul Rabil doesn't sound anything like Pedro Pascal. It kind of sounds like Pedro Pascal. Paul Rabil, Pedro Pascal. No, it doesn't. Paul Rabil is a completely different person than Pedro Pascal. And from what we can see in more recent clips, as you can see here, Vanessa Kirby is with pregnant, right? I hope Paul Rabil, I hope
Today, Junior,
performed that miracle. I really hope that was him and not whatever's going on between her and Pedro. Now, it could be just their relationship. It really could just be them. I found other instances on X of maybe there are other actors or performers or people in the industry who have come out in support of Pedro Pascal, of saying hey, he asked for consent. And that's a big ploy right now. A lot of way the liberals are kind of being well, you're super R-worded. I'm not going to use the word. You're super R-worded if you think that it's not okay for a man to ask for consent to be able to touch women. Well, why does he want to touch women so much? Just because he has anxiety. First of all, anxiety isn't real. Shut up. Number one. Or to the realm that actors and influencers and all these people want to experience it. You know how you get here's a nervous situation. Here's acting. Here's directing. Here's being in projects, very public projects. Here's being in arguably one of the largest Marvel franchises on the face of the planet, the Fantastic Four, something that is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, something that a lot of people are going to put a lot of attention on you specifically for a long time, when people still put attention on the original Fantastic Four movie that came out from 2007, I want to say 2006. People still put attention, and there's a fandom behind that. You think that's not going to happen for you with this more produced, I guess more critically well-received Fantastic Four movie? You think that's not going to happen to you? What do you think that's going to bring on? Maybe a little bit of nervousness, maybe a little bit of social anxiety, maybe a little bit of people wanting your autograph in uncomfortable places, maybe people wanting to ask you about a film that you've been in. Like, that's what you're just going to be like, hold on a second. You, attractive female, I need your assistance. You need to come here and sit on my lap so that I can have this uncomfortable conversation with a fan. That's not how that works. And according to multiple search engines, and then I also asked Grok on X, what is the deal with Pedro Pascal? I said, that's what I said to Grok. I said, what's the deal? I said, what's the deal with Pedro Pascal? What's going on there? I asked him, is he married? Has canonically, has there ever been like any big relationships in his life? And as far as we know, or as far as any search engine, general Google search or Grok could tell you, is that he's not been married. There's no evidence of him having been married. Now, I haven't checked every single public record of everywhere he's lived. We don't have that kind of level of production here. I literally had to hang my charger over the phone so that the phone could stay plugged in, so that the microphone could stay plugged in, and now it's all just kind of dangling there. Anyways, so there's been no long-standing relationship in his life. And that's not to say he hasn't had maybe flings or maybe other miscellaneous little relationships, or maybe relationships with co-stars that we wouldn't know about. We have no idea, and that's okay. I think that's great that he wants to keep his private life private. Why can't you keep that anxiety crap private, dude? Why is the most, I would argue, the most weirdo part of your life, why is that the most public part of your life? That seems weird. That seems crazy. Keep your hands to yourself. This is all the time I had for this video. Crap, I'm out of time. I'm almost, okay, I have 35 seconds left. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. There's no evidence to suggest that Pedro Pascal is just a raging weirdo or a lunatic. I just think, in my mind, in my non-heathenistic life, in my God-loving, God-fearing life, which Pedro doesn't have to live, you don't have to live, you have to make that decision for yourself. I just think, keep your hands to yourself. All the libs are going to be like, well, you're insecure. I don't know. If I'm Paul Reby and my baby is with baby, and everybody who infantilizes actor is just twirling and whirling and having his beard scratch. That's weird, dude. Stop. Okay, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That's weird. Bye, guys.